Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. The compound smelled like diesel and old sweat. Major Wyatt Morrison crouched behind a shipping container in the port of Djibouti, his rifle trained on the warehouse entrance 200 meters away. The Horn of Africa's sun beat down mercilessly, but he'd learned to ignore discomfort years ago. His spotter, a kid named Jenkins from Alabama, lay prone beside him. "Target's moving," Jenkins whispered. Wyatt watched through his scope as a man in a white linen suit emerged from the warehouse, flanked by two armed guards. Abdul Rashid, arms dealer, human trafficker, and the reason Wyatt had spent the last 3 weeks living in a shipping container that reached 120 degrees by midday. Positive ID, Wyatt confirmed into his comm. "We're green. Hold position," came the response from Captain Rodriguez back at base. Legal's still reviewing the... Wyatt's phone vibrated. He ignored it. Then it vibrated again and again. "Sir, you getting that?" Jenkins asked. Wyatt kept his eyes on Rashid. The arms dealer was climbing into a black SUV. In 30 seconds, he'd be gone, and 3 weeks of reconnaissance would be wasted. The phone wouldn't stop. Wyatt glanced at the screen. 7 missed calls from his ex-wife, Shelley Morrison, then an email notification from someone named Leona Mahoney. The subject line made his blood run cold. Urgent about Emma. Emma, his 9-year-old daughter. He opened the email with one hand, keeping the rifle steady with the other. "Major Morrison, I'm Emma's 4th grade teacher at Riverside Elementary. I need to speak with you immediately about something Emma disclosed to me this morning regarding her mother's boyfriend. I've already contacted the appropriate authorities, but given what she told me, I felt you needed to know right away. I can't discuss details over email or phone they're watching. Please check the encrypted attachment. Use the password Emma's birth date." Wyatt's heart hammered. He downloaded the attachment, fingers moving automatically to decrypt it while his mind raced through possibilities. Shelley had started dating some guy named Gary Campos about 6 months ago. Wyatt had run a basic background check, nothing alarming. Divorced, worked in real estate, no priors. The file opened. It was a video, shaky phone footage taken from what looked like under a desk. The audio was muffled, but Wyatt could make out Emma's voice. Small and frightened. "And then Mr. Gary said if I told anyone, something bad would happen to Mommy. He has a room in the basement nobody's supposed to go in. I heard people crying down there. He has men who come at night. They take pictures of..." The video cut off. Wyatt's vision tunneled. His breathing stayed controlled. 15 years of special operations had trained that into him, but inside, something primitive and violent unfurled. "Sir?" Jenkins was looking at him with concern. "You okay?" Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm. "Morrison, legal says we're scrubbed. Stand down and return to..." "Captain." Wyatt's voice was flat, cold. "I need immediate emergency leave." A pause. Rodriguez had served with Wyatt in Fallujah. They pulled each other out of burning vehicles and held watch over dying friends. Rodriguez knew that tone. "What happened?" "My daughter's in danger. I need to be wheels up in 20 minutes. Another pause. Wyatt could hear Rodriguez typing. "I'm looking at your file. Your daughter's stateside, right? California?" "Yes, sir." "And you're telling me this can't wait the 3 days until mission completion?" Wyatt looked at his phone again. Shelley had sent a text. "Wyatt, please call me, it's about Emma, but don't make a scene. Gary says you like to overreact." The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Don't make a scene. That wasn't Shelley's language. She'd spent 7 years married to him, had screamed at him plenty during the divorce about his emotional unavailability and inability to communicate. She'd never once asked him not to make a scene. Someone had coached her to send that message. Someone who knew Wyatt would come. "No, sir," Wyatt said quietly. "It can't wait." Rodriguez exhaled. "Pack your gear. I'll have a bird ready in 15. And Morrison, whatever you're walking into..." "I know, sir. It's probably a trap." "That's not what I was going to say." Rodriguez's voice softened. "I was going to say watch your 6. You're no good to your daughter if you're dead." Wyatt was already moving, breaking down his rifle with practiced efficiency. Jenkins scrambled to keep up. "What do you need from me, sir?" "Nothing. This one's off the books." "Respectfully, sir, fuck that." Jenkins grinned, but his eyes were serious. "You pulled my ass out of that mess in Kandahar. I'm coming with you." Wyatt paused, considered. "Can you fly commercial armed?" I got my Marshall certification last year. For fun. Then, pack light. We're going to California. 12 hours later, Wyatt stepped off a red-eye flight at LAX. Jenkins followed, both of them carrying minimal gear in nondescript duffel bags. To anyone watching, they looked like businessmen, maybe construction contractors. Wyatt's phone had 17 new messages. He ignored them all except another email from Leona Mahoney, sent an hour ago. Major Morrison, I know you're probably traveling. I wanted you to know that Emma is currently with her mother, and CPS did a wellness check this morning. They found nothing concerning. The detective assigned to the case, Clinton Lloyd, told me they need more evidence before they can act. I don't trust him. When I mentioned the basement, he got very defensive and said I was overstepping my bounds as a teacher. Emma clammed up completely when the social worker came. I think she's been threatened. I'm attaching my personal phone number. Please be careful. Wyatt dialed the number. A woman answered on the first ring. Major Morrison? Miss Mahoney. Tell me everything, Emma said. Are you somewhere you can talk freely? Wyatt glanced around the airport terminal. Too exposed. Give me 5 minutes. He found a family bathroom, locked the door, and called back on a burner phone Jenkins had picked up in the airport. Leona Mahoney spoke quickly, her voice steady but urgent. Emma came to me 3 days ago during lunch. She said she needed to tell someone something, but was scared. I assured her she could trust me. She told me that her mother's boyfriend, Gary Campos, has been acting strange. He moved into their house 2 months ago and immediately started renovating the basement. Emma said he told her and her mother the basement was off limits because of dangerous construction equipment. But Emma's a curious kid, Wyatt said. He knew his daughter. Smart, brave, too clever for her own good, took after him that way. Exactly. 3 nights ago, she snuck downstairs when everyone was asleep. She heard voices. Crying. She recorded some audio on an old iPod she keeps in her room. That's what I sent you in the first attachment. Wyatt had listened to it on the plane. The crying was definitely human. Female voices, plural, speaking what sounded like Russian or Ukrainian. And beneath it all, a sound that made his skin crawl, mechanical, rhythmic, like industrial equipment. What happened when CPS came? They interviewed Emma at school. She barely said anything, just that she'd been having bad dreams. The social worker seemed satisfied with that answer. Too satisfied. And Detective Lloyd was with her. He's not even from the unit that usually handles these cases. He works narcotics. You ran a background check on him, Wyatt said. It wasn't a question. He could hear it in her voice. This woman was thorough. I did. Clinton Lloyd, 15 years on the force. Solid record until about 3 years ago. Then he bought a house in Corona del March. That's a $2 million neighborhood, Major Morrison. On a detective's salary. Wyatt's jaw tightened. You think he's dirty? I think something is very wrong. And the people who are supposed to protect Emma aren't going to help. That's why I reached out to you directly. Where's Emma now? With her mother and Campos. I called Shelley an hour ago to suggest Emma might benefit from talking to a counselor. She said Emma was fine and that I was being dramatic. Those were her exact words. It didn't sound like her. No, it didn't. Shelley Morrison was many things, but she'd never dismissed concerns about Emma's well-being. She'd been a fierce mother during their marriage, the kind who'd storm into the principal's office over a bad grade or a bullying incident. One more question, Wyatt said. In your professional opinion, was Emma telling the truth? Without a doubt. I've been teaching for 12 years, Major Morrison. I know when a child is lying, when they're confused, and when they're terrified. Emma was terrified. Thank you, Miss Mahoney. I need you to do something for me. Stay away from Emma and Shelley for the next 48 hours. If anyone asks about our conversation, tell them I threatened to sue the school for involving myself without my permission. But I need you safe and at a distance. If this goes where I think it's going, you can't be connected to it. Understand? A pause. Then, quietly, I understand. Bring her home, Major Morrison. Wyatt ended the call and found Jenkins waiting outside. 2 cups of coffee in hand. So, what's the play? Jenkins asked. Reconnaissance first. I need eyes on the house, background on Campos, and a better read on this detective. Wyatt pulled out his personal laptop and opened an encrypted connection to a private server. I'm calling in a favor. 10 minutes later, his screen filled with data. Gary Campos's financial records, property holdings, known associates. The information came courtesy of Porter French, a former military intelligence analyst who now ran a private investigation firm that operated in legal gray areas. Porter's face appeared in a video window. He looked tired, older than his 45 years. Wyatt. Long time. I need deep background on someone. Fast. I figured. I've been pulling what I can on Gary Campos for the last hour. Leona Mahoney reached out to me first. She's my cousin. That explained a lot. Wyatt studied the data scrolling across his screen. Gary Campos, age 42, divorced 3 years ago. Before the real estate career, he'd worked in logistics? Define logistics, Wyatt said. Import-export. Mostly legitimate, as far as I can tell. But here's where it gets interesting. Porter highlighted a series of transactions. 6 months ago, right around the time he started dating your ex-wife, Campos formed a new LLC, Silent Shore Enterprises. And Silent Shore has been purchasing some very specific equipment. What kind of equipment? Soundproofing materials, high-end security systems, and this is the kicker: medical supplies, IV poles, examination tables, surgical lights. Wyatt's blood ran cold. What the hell is he running? I don't know yet, but I've got flags on 3 other properties registered to Silent Shore, 2 warehouses in Long Beach and a storage facility in Riverside. I'm working on getting surveillance footage, but my contact in LBPD says those locations are flagged in their system. Flagged how? Hands off. Orders from above. And when I tried to pull permits for the construction work on your ex-wife's basement, they'd been sealed. That requires a judge's signature. Wyatt. This was bigger than he'd thought. Wyatt pulled up a map, marking the locations. What about Detective Lloyd? That's even more interesting. Porter shared a new file. Clinton Lloyd, divorced, 2 kids in college. And here's his bank records from the last 3 years, courtesy of some creative interpretation of privacy laws. He's been receiving monthly deposits of $15,000 from a shell company registered in the Caymans. That company is owned by another shell company, which is owned by, let's guess who? Campos. Bingo. Lloyd's not just dirty, he's on the payroll. And he's not alone. I've found similar payment patterns to 4 other individuals. A social worker named Whitney Levy, a county clerk, and 2 patrol officers. Wyatt absorbed this. A network. Not just one corrupt cop, but an entire protective structure built around whatever Campos was doing. How long until you can get me building schematics for the house? I already have them. Sending now. Porter's expression darkened. Wyatt, whatever you're planning, I'm getting my daughter out. That's all you need to know. The basement renovations aren't on any official permits, which means whatever he built down there, he built quietly. Could be anything, could be dangerous. Everything's dangerous. I'll handle it. Porter nodded slowly. You'll need equipment. I've got a storage unit in Anaheim with some toys that might help. I'll text you the address and code. I owe you. You saved my life in Baghdad. We're square. Just bring Emma home safe. Wyatt closed the connection and turned to Jenkins. We need to do a drive-by. Get a feel for the neighborhood, identify sight lines and potential entry points. And then we figure out exactly what Gary Campos is hiding in that basement. The Morrison house, now the Campos house, Wyatt had to remind himself, sat in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Orange County. Palm trees lined the streets. Kids rode bikes. A dog barked somewhere. It looked perfect, peaceful. Wyatt hated it. He drove past slowly in a rental car, Jenkins in the passenger seat with a camera disguised as a phone. The house was a 2-story Craftsman, recently painted. Shelley's car was in the driveway, a Honda Pilot he'd helped her pick out 3 years ago. Next to it sat a black Mercedes SUV with tinted windows. Security cameras on the corners, Jenkins murmured, snapping photos, motion sensors on the front windows. That's not standard suburban security. Wyatt noticed something else. The basement windows are new. Reinforced glass, sealed shut. And look at the ventilation system. A discrete vent system had been installed on the side of the house, the kind used for climate-controlled rooms. Not normal for a California basement. They parked 3 houses down and watched. 20 minutes later, the front door opened. Emma emerged, backpack on her shoulders, followed by Shelley. Wyatt's chest tightened at the sight of his daughter. She looked smaller than he remembered, her shoulders hunched. Shelley looked wrong. She'd lost weight. Her movements were jerky, nervous. She kept glancing back at the house. As she walked Emma to the pilot. Then Gary Campos appeared in the doorway. Wyatt studied him carefully. Tall, fit, probably worked out regularly. Expensive casual clothes. He smiled and waved at Emma, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Emma didn't wave back. "That's our guy," Jenkins said quietly. They watched Shelley drive away with Emma headed to school. Probably. Campos remained in the doorway for a long moment, looking up and down the street. Then, he pulled out his phone and made a call. 30 seconds later, a white panel van pulled up. Two men got out, both carrying toolboxes. They didn't look like contractors. They moved like soldiers, aware, alert, scanning the environment. "This is getting complicated," Jenkins observed. Wyatt was already running scenarios. A frontal assault was out too much risk to Emma and Shelley. He needed intelligence first. Needed to know exactly what was in that basement and how many people were involved. His phone buzzed. A text from Porter. "Found something. Call as soon as possible." Wyatt drove to a nearby park and called from the burner. Porter didn't waste time. "I've been digging into Campos's background. His logistics company worked with some questionable clients overseas. I found travel records. He made 6 trips to Ukraine in the 2 years before the war escalated. Then, his business partner, a guy named Randall Bond, disappeared. Presumed dead in a boating accident. Campos collected a $2 million insurance payout. Let me guess. Right around the time he bought the house." "Exactly. But here's the thing that made me call you immediately. I got access to the dark web marketplaces, don't ask how, and found chatter about a new operation in Southern California. High-end trafficking. Not drugs, people. Specifically, women from Eastern Europe being moved through what they call processing centers before being sent to various locations." Wyatt's stomach turned. The crying Emma heard. The medical equipment. It fits. These operations typically involve forced labor or worse. The medical equipment suggests they might be running health screenings, documentation, maybe even cosmetic procedures. And the soundproofing means nobody hears the screams. Silence on the line. Then Porter said, "There's more. I found communication records between Campos and a man named Hugo Wilkerson. Wilkerson runs a network of luxury escort services in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Very exclusive, very illegal, and very well protected. He's been untouchable for years because he's got law enforcement in his pocket, including Detective Lloyd. Lloyd's a foot soldier. Hugo Wilkerson is the king. If Campos is running a processing center for Wilkerson's network, and if he's doing it out of your ex-wife's basement," Porter trailed off. Wyatt finished the thought. "Then Shelley and Emma are loose ends. Witnesses. Liabilities." "Exactly. The fact that they're still alive means Campos needs them for something. Probably using Shelley as cover. What better disguise for a trafficking operation than a normal family home with a mom and kid?" But Emma got curious. Emma saw something, and now she's a problem. A problem that's been reported to authorities, which means Campos knows the clock is ticking. "If I were him, I'd be planning to clean house soon. Very soon." Wyatt's mind raced. He couldn't call the police, they were compromised. He couldn't extract Emma without knowing the full scope of what he was walking into. But if he waited too long, "I need to get eyes inside that house," he said. "Way ahead of you. I've been monitoring Campos's communications. He's hosting a meeting tonight at 8 p.m. All his key players will be there, Wilkerson, Lloyd, and at least 3 others I've identified as part of the network. Shelley and Emma will be at some school function. Emma has a choir concert at 7:30. Perfect. An empty house full of criminals. Can you get me in? I can get you a lot more than that. Remember my storage unit? I've got everything you need for a full surveillance install. Micro cameras, audio devices. Hell, I've even got a drone that can fit through a doggy door if needed. You plant them tonight while they're meeting, and we'll have everything on record. That's evidence for prosecution." "I'm not interested in prosecution." Porter was quiet for a moment. "What are you interested in, Wyatt?" "Getting my daughter somewhere safe, and making sure these people never hurt anyone again. The legal way or the other way. Whatever way works." Another pause. Then Porter said, "Okay, but if you're going the other way, you need to be smart about it. These aren't random criminals, they're connected, organized, and they've been getting away with this for years. You can't just kick in the door and start shooting. I'm not planning to. So, what are you planning? Wyatt watched a family at the park, a father pushing his daughter on a swing. The girl's laughter carried across the grass. I'm planning to make them destroy each other, he said quietly. Fear, paranoia, greed, every organization has fracture points. I'm going to find them and apply pressure until the whole thing collapses. And when it does, when they're all scrambling and desperate, that's when I'll move Emma to safety. That's actually pretty smart. You'll need time, though. How much time before you think Campos moves against Shelley and Emma? Based on the chatter I'm seeing, days? Maybe a week. The fact that CPS already came sniffing around means he's already planning his exit strategy. Then I've got a week to dismantle his entire operation and get my family out alive. That's impossible. Good thing I specialize in impossible. That evening, Wyatt sat in the audience of Riverside Elementary School's auditorium, watching his daughter sing in the fourth-grade choir. Emma stood in the back row, her voice small but steady, and didn't know her father was there. Shelley sat 3 rows ahead, alone, no sign of Campos. When the concert ended, Wyatt slipped out before the lights came up. He'd seen what he needed. Emma was safe for now, still, in the regular routines of her life. That would change soon, but not tonight. Jenkins waited in the car, equipment loaded. Porter sent coordinates. The meeting started 20 minutes ago. They drove to a location 2 blocks from the house and parked. Wyatt changed into dark, nondescript clothes and loaded a small pack with surveillance gear. Jenkins stayed with the vehicle, monitoring communications. You've got approximately 90 minutes before the meeting ends, Jenkins said. I'm tracking 6 phones inside the house now. Campos, Wilkerson, Lloyd, and 3 unknowns. Wyatt moved through the neighborhood like a shadow, using hedges and darkness for cover. The house's rear yard backed up to a greenbelt, making approach easy. He'd studied the building schematics for hours and knew exactly where to go. The basement had an exterior entrance, a common feature in California homes, usually leading to storage or utilities. Campos had sealed it with a reinforced door and an electronic lock, but Porter had provided a bypass device. Wyatt attached it, and the lock clicked open. He paused, listening. Voices filtered from above. The meeting was happening on the main floor. Perfect. The basement stairs descended into darkness. Wyatt activated a low-light camera and moved carefully. The space had been completely renovated. What should have been storage and laundry was now a series of connected rooms, all soundproofed. The first room contained medical equipment examination tables, cabinets full of supplies, a wall of locked medication. Everything clean, organized, professional, like a doctor's office, except for the restraints built into the examination tables. The second room made his blood run cold. 6 beds, 3 on each side, military-style bunks. Currently empty, but the sheets were rumpled, recently used. Personal items on small shelves, photos, letters, a stuffed animal. These rooms were occupied. Women lived here. Where were they now? Wyatt moved deeper. The third room had a door with a more serious lock. He bypassed it and found himself in what could only be described as a control center. Computer monitors, filing cabinets, a wall of photos. The photos showed women, hundreds of them, each labeled with a number, date, and destination city. This wasn't just a processing center. It was a hub, a logistics operation for human trafficking on a massive scale. Wyatt photographed everything, downloading files from the computers onto encrypted drives. Names, locations, transactions. Evidence that would bury Campos and his entire network. But evidence wasn't enough. These people had police and officials in their pocket. The system that should protect victims was corrupted. No, Wyatt needed something more decisive. He found it in a safe hidden behind a false wall. Inside, ledgers detailing payments to officials, blackmail material on various clients, and most importantly, a record of upcoming shipments. The next transfer was scheduled for 3 days from now. 8 women would be moved from the basement to a yacht in Marina del Rey, then transported to Dubai. 8 women currently somewhere else. Where? Wyatt checked his watch. 40 minutes left. He planted micro cameras and audio devices throughout the basement, positioning them carefully to capture everything. Then he made his way upstairs, moving with absolute silence. The meeting was in the dining room. Wyatt could hear voices through the floor vents. Don't care what the teacher thinks she knows. That was Campos. Lloyd handled it. CPS cleared us. The kid won't talk again. You should have controlled her better. A new voice, cultured, cold. Wilkerson. This is why I don't like using residential locations. Too many variables. The residential location is perfect, Campos argued. Nobody suspects a family home. And once I marry Shelley, I'll have legal claim to everything. The property will be untouchable. Wyatt's jaw clenched. Marry Shelley. This bastard was planning to marry his ex-wife to legitimize his operation. What about the current inventory? Wilkerson asked. Secured at the Long Beach warehouse. The basement's clear for now. After we move this shipment, I'll bring in the next group. The Ukrainian supplier has another 10 ready. And the Morrison kid? She's a liability. I've got it handled, Campos said. Once the wedding happens next month, I'll have full custody rights. Then it's easy tragic accident, maybe a drowning. Happens to kids all the time. Wyatt forced himself to remain still, to keep breathing steadily. Every instinct screamed to break down the door and put bullets in everyone at that table. But that would only get him killed or arrested, and Emma would still be in danger. No. He needed to be smarter. He finished planting his devices and exfiltrated the same way he'd entered, leaving no trace of his presence. Back in the car, Jenkins looked at his expression and said nothing. They drove in silence until they reached a motel 15 miles away. In the room, Wyatt connected his laptop and began reviewing the footage, photographs, and audio recordings. Jenkins watched over his shoulder. This is enough to bury them, Jenkins said finally. Every law enforcement agency in the country would want this. Every agency that isn't on their payroll. So what's the plan? Wyatt pulled up a file on Hugo Wilkerson. The man ran his empire through fear and leverage. He had blackmail material on everyone who worked for him, ensuring loyalty. But blackmail was a double-edged sword. We're going to turn them against each other, Wyatt said. Wilkerson controls this network through fear and information. If his people think he's losing control, if they think their secrets are exposed, they'll panic. Panicked people make mistakes. How do we make them panic? Wyatt smiled, but it wasn't pleasant. We give them exactly what they fear most. Exposure. Over the next 6 hours, Wyatt crafted a plan that was part psychological warfare, part tactical operation. He started by creating anonymous packages containing carefully selected evidence enough to show that someone had penetrated their security, not enough to reveal the full scope of what he'd found. The first package went to Detective Clinton Lloyd. Photos of Lloyd accepting cash from Campos, along with a note, "Others know. Protect yourself." The second went to Hugo Wilkerson, a copy of Campos' ledger showing him skimming money from their joint operations, along with a note, "Your partner is stealing from you." The third went to Gary Campos, a dossier on Hugo Wilkerson's blackmail files, suggesting that someone had accessed them, with a note, "He's planning to eliminate you." Each package was delivered through untraceable means: dead drops, anonymous courier services, burner emails from public Wi-Fi hotspots. Then Wyatt waited. Surveillance cameras he'd planted transmitted their feeds to his laptop. Audio devices picked up phone calls and conversations. And slowly, beautifully, the organization began to fracture. Detective Lloyd panicked first. Within 12 hours of receiving his package, he called Campos in a rage, demanding to know who else knew about their arrangement. Campos, already paranoid from his own package about Wilkerson, denied everything and accused Lloyd of being sloppy. Their argument was vicious, full of threats and recriminations. Meanwhile, Hugo Wilkerson started his own investigation into the supposed theft, pulling financial records and confronting Campos about discrepancies. Campos, genuinely confused because he hadn't been skimming, realized someone was playing them. "We've got a leak," Wilkerson said during an emergency meeting the next night. "Someone's inside our operation. Or, someone's trying to destroy us from outside," Campos countered. Who would have the skills and motivation? Wyatt listened through his audio feeds and smiled. Let them wonder. Let them fear. He escalated the next day by sending anonymous tips to federal agencies, not the local police, but FBI and Homeland Security, with just enough information to start official investigations. Not enough to act on immediately, but enough to generate paperwork, phone calls, questions. The pressure mounted. Wilkerson's people started getting nervous. looking over their shoulders. Detective Lloyd began distancing himself, refusing to take Campos's calls. And in the chaos, Wyatt moved to Phase 2, extraction. He'd identified where the 8 women were being held the Long Beach warehouse Porter had mentioned. While the organization was imploding, he contacted an old friend from his army days, Sung Zamora, who now ran a legitimate security consulting firm. "I need an extraction team," Wyatt said. 8 civilians, hostile environment, probably armed guards. Sung didn't ask questions. "When?" "Tomorrow night. While they're distracted. I'll have people ready." Wyatt also reached out to Leona Mahoney. "I need you to call Shelley tomorrow at exactly 3 p.m. Tell her you're concerned about Emma and think she should consider staying somewhere else for a few days. Suggest a women's shelter if needed. Give her the number for a legitimate one." "Will she listen?" "I'm going to make sure she's ready to listen." That afternoon, Wyatt sent Shelley a burner phone by courier, along with a note. "This phone is secure. I know about Campos. I know what he's doing and what he's planning. When your old friend Leona calls tomorrow, listen to her. Take Emma and go where she suggests. Trust no one else. I'm fixing this. W." He couldn't risk direct contact, yet Campos might be monitoring her communications. But Shelley would recognize his handwriting, and she'd remember that he'd never lied to her, even during their worst fights. The next evening unfolded like clockwork. At 6 p.m., Sung's team hit the Long Beach warehouse. They went in fast and hard, neutralizing 3 armed guards and extracting all 8 women before Campos's organization could respond. The women were taken to a legitimate safe house run by an NGO that specialized in trafficking victims. At 6:15, federal agents showed up at the warehouse, responding to an anonymous tip about human trafficking. They found the facility empty of victims but full of evidence. At 6:30, Hugo Wilkerson received a call from his warehouse manager about the raid. He immediately suspected Campos of setting him up to eliminate competition. At 6:45, Campos received word that federal agents were at his Long Beach property. He suspected Wilkerson of betraying him to law enforcement. The organization collapsed into infighting. Phone calls turned into screaming matches, threats flew. Wilkerson ordered his people to cut ties with Campos. Campos threatened to release blackmail material on Wilkerson. Detective Lloyd, realizing the whole operation was burning down, began destroying evidence and considering whether to run or cooperate with federal investigators. Through it all, Wyatt watched and listened, adjusting his plans in real time. At 7 p.m., Shelley called the number Leona had given her. She took Emma and drove to a women's shelter in San Diego, 3 hours away. Wyatt tracked her phone until he confirmed she'd arrived safely. Emma was out of Campos's reach. Now came the endgame. Gary Campos stood in his basement control center, watching his empire crumble. Federal investigation, missing inventory, partners turning on each other, everything was falling apart, and he couldn't figure out how or why. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Campos," said a calm, unfamiliar voice. "We need to talk about your operational security." Who is this? Someone who knows everything. The trafficking, the murders, the payoffs, the plan to kill Emma Morrison. All of it. Campos felt ice in his veins. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. You made a mistake when you threatened my daughter. You made a bigger mistake when you involved my ex-wife. But your fatal mistake was thinking you could build your operation without someone noticing." "Morrison." Campos's hand moved to the gun on his desk. "You military types always think you're so smart. I'm not military anymore. I'm a father. And you're already dead. You just don't know it yet." Tough talk from someone who's probably surrounded by police right now. "You think I don't have protections? Your protections are gone. Wilkerson thinks you betrayed him. Lloyd's preparing to testify against you for immunity. Your warehouse is in federal custody. Your blackmail files have been copied and distributed to parties who won't be intimidated. And in about 30 seconds, your security system is going to fail." The lights in the basement flickered. "What did you?" The power died. Emergency lighting kicked in, but Campos's computer monitors went dark. The electronic locks on his doors clicked open. Wyatt's voice continued from the phone, calm and steady. "I could kill you right now. I'm actually quite good at it. But that would be too easy. Instead, I'm going to let your associates do it for you. See, they've all received evidence that you've been cooperating with federal authorities. Probably cutting a deal. The same evidence I planted showing Wilkerson and Lloyd doing the same thing. You're lying. Am I? Check your encrypted messaging app. The one you think is secure. Campos fumbled with his phone, pulling up the app. His blood ran cold. Messages from Wilkerson, Lloyd, and others all discussing how to eliminate him before he could testify. Those are fake, he said, but his voice shook. Maybe. Or maybe your partners really are planning to kill you. How would you know? Can you trust anyone now? Can you trust Lloyd? Wilkerson? The men you hire for security? Upstairs. Campos heard something. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Who's in my house? People who think you're a rat. Or federal agents. Or both. Does it matter? Your life is over either way. Prison or execution, your choice. Campos grabbed his gun and backed toward the secret exit he'd built into the basement, a tunnel leading to the neighbor's yard. Run if you want, Wyatt said. But there's nowhere to go. I've sent your complete financial records to the IRS. Your client list to every law enforcement agency in the country. Your blackmail files to the targets themselves. And your exact location to everyone who wants you dead. I'll kill you. Campos screamed into the phone. I'll kill your daughter, your ex-wife, everyone you. You won't, because you're about to be very busy surviving the next 24 hours. The phone went dead. Campos ran for the tunnel exit just as he heard his front door crash open. Voices shouted FBI or Wilkerson's men, he couldn't tell. Didn't matter. He had go bags stashed in 3 locations, false identities, emergency cash. He could disappear, rebuild. He emerged from the tunnel into darkness and ran straight into someone standing there waiting. The man was tall, fit, with the kind of stillness that comes from years of combat experience. Even in the dark, Campos could see his eyes cold, calculating, merciless. Hello, Gary. Major Wyatt Morrison said quietly. We need to have a conversation about my daughter. 2 days later, Wyatt sat in a coffee shop in San Diego, watching Emma through the window of the women's shelter across the street. She was playing in the courtyard with other kids, laughing. Safe. Shelley emerged from the shelter and spotted Wyatt. She walked over slowly, crossing the street with the careful movements of someone who'd been through trauma. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Shelley said, The FBI came yesterday. They said Gary and his associates are all in custody. Something about a trafficking ring. That's good. They said someone had been gathering evidence for months. A whistleblower in the organization. Lucky break. Shelley looked at him directly. Wyatt, where were you the last week? Business trip. Got back 2 days ago. The FBI agent asked me about you. Asked if you'd contacted me, if I'd seen you. I told them no. Why would you do that? She was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. Because I know you. I was married to you for 7 years. I know what you do when someone threatens your family. Wyatt said nothing. I should probably ask what happened, Shelley continued. I should probably want to know details. But I think I'd rather not. Is that okay? That's fine. Is Emma safe now? Really safe? Yes. Campos and Wilkerson are facing life in prison. Their organization is destroyed. Detective Lloyd is cooperating with federal prosecutors in exchange for a lighter sentence. Every person involved is either dead or in custody. Dead? Wilkerson's bodyguard tried to run. He didn't make it. Shelley absorbed this. And Gary? Last I heard, he's in protective custody. Turns out when you betray everyone you work with, you need protection from a lot of people. Did you kill anyone? Wyatt met her eyes. I protected our daughter. That was answer enough. Shelley nodded slowly. Thank you, she whispered. I should have seen what he was. Should have protected her better. I'm so sorry. You didn't know. These people are good at hiding what they are. But you knew. Emma told her teacher. And you knew to take it seriously. Emma's smart. She gets that from both of us. Shelley almost smiled. Can I ask you something? Sure. How did you do it? How did you dismantle an entire criminal organization in less than a week? Wyatt thought about the surveillance, the psychological warfare, the careful manipulation of fear and paranoia. He thought about Campos's face when he'd realized his entire empire was collapsing. He thought about the 8 women now safe, the evidence now in proper hands, the justice finally being served. I'm good at my job, he said simply. Protecting people, ending threats. They sat in silence, watching Emma play. After a while, Shelley said, What happens now? FBI will want to interview Emma eventually. but they're being gentle about it. She'll need therapy. You both will. And you? I have to go back to my job. But I'm going to put in for a transfer. Something stateside. I want to be closer to Emma. She'd like that. She missed you. I missed her too. Shelley stood up. Do you want to come say hi? She doesn't know you're here. Wyatt hesitated, then nodded. They crossed the street together. When Emma saw her father, her face lit up in a way that made every risk, every moment of danger, every calculated move of the past week worth it. She ran to him, and he caught her in a hug, lifting her off the ground. Daddy, you're back. I'm back, sweetheart. I'm here. Did you save the world again? He set her down, brushing hair from her face. Just a small part of it. The most important part. Emma grinned. Mom said we might move somewhere new. Start over. Would you like that? Only if you visit a lot. I promise I will. Later, after Emma had gone back to playing, Shelley walked Wyatt to his car. One more thing, she said. Leona Mahoney, Emma's teacher. She came by yesterday. She seemed to know more than she was saying. Is she? She's the reason Emma is safe. She's the one who contacted me and gave me the information I needed to act. I should thank her. She'd appreciate that. Wyatt got in his car, but didn't start the engine immediately. Through the window, he could see Emma laughing with the other children, completely unaware of how close she'd come to being another victim in Campos's machinery of exploitation. His phone buzzed. A message from Porter. All loose ends tied up. The 8 women from Long Beach are being processed as material witnesses. 3 have already identified other trafficking operations. This is going to bring down networks across 3 states. Nice work. Another message. This one from Sung. Heard through the grapevine that Wilkerson's organization is completely dismantled. His offshore accounts frozen. His blackmail files now in FBI custody. That was surgical. Whoever did it is a professional. Wyatt deleted both messages and started the car. Jenkins was waiting at their motel. So, family reunion go okay? Emma's safe. Shelley's getting help. That's all that matters. What about you? You okay? Wyatt thought about the question. Was he okay? He dismantled a criminal empire, saved his daughter, and brought down some truly evil people. But he'd also lived in that darkness for a week, had remembered how good he was at manipulation and violence. I'm good at what I do, he said finally. Sometimes that scares me. Being good at protecting people isn't something to be scared of. It's not the protecting I'm good at. It's the destroying. Jenkins considered this. Maybe. But you destroyed people who deserved it. People who hurt kids. I don't see the problem. The problem is I enjoyed it. Watching Campos's organization collapse. Seeing the fear in his eyes when he realized he'd lost everything, I enjoyed that. Good. You should. These bastards destroyed lives. You destroyed them back. That's justice. Maybe it was. Maybe Jenkins was right. Or maybe Wyatt just needed to believe that, so he could sleep at night. His phone rang. Captain Rodriguez. Morrison. Heard you're back stateside. Yes, sir. Also heard through some interesting channels that a major trafficking operation just got rolled up in Southern California. Federal investigation, multiple arrests, interstate implications. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I was on emergency leave, sir. Family matter. Right. Family matter. Well, your leave is approved for another 2 weeks. After that, we need to discuss your next assignment. I've got something that might interest you: domestic counterterrorism. Based out of Virginia. You'd be closer to your daughter. I'd appreciate that, sir. Morrison, whatever you did or didn't do on your leave, I don't want to know details. But off the record, I've seen the FBI briefings. Whoever took down that network did the world a favor. They saved a lot of lives. Yes, sir. Take care of your family. I'll see you in 2 weeks. The call ended. Wyatt sat in the quiet motel room, processing everything. Jenkins broke the silence. So what now? Now, I spend time with my daughter. Make sure she knows she's safe. Help Shelley put her life back together. And after that, I go back to work. There are always more threats. Always more people who need protecting. You ever think about retiring? Maybe doing something less intense? Wyatt smiled grimly. Every day. But then I remember what people like Campos do when men like me aren't watching. I remember that there are predators everywhere, hiding in plain sight. Someone has to stop them. You can't save everyone. No, but I can save some, starting with my daughter. Jenkins nodded. For what it's worth, you did good work this week. Real good work. Thanks. Although I gotta say, the psychological warfare aspect was brutal. You didn't just beat them, you made them beat themselves. Fear is a weapon. I just used their own fears against them. Where'd you learn that? Years of experience. Years of watching how organizations work, how they're held together by trust and mutual interest. Destroy the trust, and the organization destroys itself. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Wyatt's phone buzzed again. Another message. This one from an unknown number. Major Morrison. This is Leona Mahoney. Just wanted you to know. Emma came to school today. I'm giving her assignments to work on at the shelter. She seems more relaxed than I've seen her in months. Whatever you did, thank you, L. He typed a quick response. Thank you for protecting her when I couldn't. You saved her life. W. A moment later, we both did. Take care of that girl. She's special. Wyatt put the phone away and stared out the window at the San Diego skyline. Somewhere out there, Emma was safe, laughing, being a kid again. Shelley was getting help, rebuilding her life. And the people who'd threatened them were facing justice. It wasn't a perfect ending. Emma would need therapy. Shelley would struggle with trust. The trauma didn't just disappear because the threat was gone. But they were alive. They were safe. And Wyatt had made sure the people responsible would never hurt anyone again. That was enough. It had to be enough. 3 weeks later, Wyatt stood in a federal courtroom, watching as Gary Campos was sentenced to 45 years in prison for human trafficking, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Hugo Wilkerson received life without parole. Detective Clinton Lloyd got 12 years in exchange for his testimony. The 8 women from the Long Beach warehouse were present, giving victim impact statements through interpreters. Their words were powerful, damning, heartbreaking. When it was over, Wyatt walked out of the courthouse and found Porter waiting. That's that, Porter said. All of them put away. For now. You think there'll be problems in prison? I think Wilkerson had a lot of enemies. I think someone will shank him within a year. Campos might last longer if he keeps his head down. And Lloyd? Lloyd will serve his time and get out early for good behavior. Then he'll disappear somewhere quiet and try to forget he was ever part of this. They walked to a nearby coffee shop. Porter ordered them both drinks and sat down heavily. You know what the craziest part of this whole thing is? Porter said. The FBI thinks they cracked this case through good old-fashioned detective work. They have no idea someone orchestrated the whole takedown. That's how it should be. You could have taken credit. Could have been a hero. I don't need to be a hero. I needed my daughter safe. Porter smiled. Fair enough. So what's next for you? New assignment in Virginia. Counterterrorism. I start in a month. And Emma. She's doing better. She and Shelley moved to a new place, new school. Fresh start. I'll be able to visit every other weekend, maybe more. That's good. She needs her dad. They drank in comfortable silence. Then Porter said, You know, if you ever need help with anything else, information, resources, whatever, I'm around. I appreciate that. I mean it. What you did here, taking down that network, saving those women, that matters. The world needs more people willing to do what you did. The world needs fewer people like Campos and Wilkerson. True. But until that happens, we need people like you to stop them. Wyatt's phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Dad, guess what? I made the school's soccer team. Can you come to my first game next month? He typed back. Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it. Proud of you. Emma's response. Love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. Wyatt put the phone away and looked at Porter. You asked what's next. That's what's next. Soccer games. Parent-teacher conferences. Normal life. Think you can handle normal after all this? I can try. But even as he said it, Wyatt knew the truth. There would always be another mission, another threat, another situation that required his particular set of skills. The world was full of predators, and someone had to hunt them. But for now, for this moment, he had his daughter back. He had a chance to be a father instead of a weapon. That would have to be enough. And if it wasn't, if another Gary Campos appeared, if another threat emerged, well, Wyatt would handle it. The same way he'd handled this one. Decisively, ruthlessly, and with absolute dedication to protecting the people he loved. Because that's what fathers do. They protect their children. no matter the cost.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.